Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're going to talk about GoPro Hero 11. So let's dive right into it. Now, this is just an incremental update. It's like a bit bigger sensor. However, the biggest change they have made is the sensor is now 8 by 7x, which simply translates to almost a square sensor. Almost as square sensor, which simply means in certain video modes, it allows you to do full sensor capture. Benefit of that is that shoot first, distribute later. What does that mean? That simply means you can frame the video for some square platforms, you can frame the video for square platforms, vertical platforms like Instagram or TikTok, and then you can do wide for YouTube. So that's a very critical useful tool for the people who use it. Like again, if you are just storing video for your normal work, nobody cares. But like if you are person who is occupied into these sort of social media, having this option is just like shut up and take my money. While other companies have figured it out, this is interesting to see that finally GoPro have also learned that it's very easy nowadays to have a like full sensor readout and just like, hey, you get the whole detail and just crop as you see fit. And it also does cloud-based AI reel remaking. Basically upload all your data, and then AI cloud will literally crunch the data and then give you a reel. Now be very mindful that it does require monthly subscription, so be aware of that. It does have long-lasting enduro battery, because many people complained that last generations of because again they changed the processor, so power consumption went up. So battery, again, it's a chemistry system. Either you change the chemistry or you make it physically bigger. So they decided to modify the battery in such a way that it does give you a bit more resilience in cold environment and does give you more oomph, as in like around 30% more. So that's on the battery front, and 24.7 megapixel photo should be extractable from video. Now be mindful, this is from a small sensor. Do not expect this puppy can compare up to like 24 megapixel APS-C or Micro Four Thirty. It won't. So this is Hero 11. Now the biggest hype about this aspect is that 10-bit color is finally into action cam. Now it is a very desirable factor to have 10-bit, because you have to understand all the sensors are same. Like if you take a sensor, you may even have a scenario where a sensor wafer, like the silicon wafer that is made into a sensor, literally was chopped into different scales. Like this sensor goes to full frame, this goes to this. It has been done. So what's the critical aspect is that sensors are awesome. Now things that go behind the sensor that we call analog to digital converter, they are also awesome. They are multiple bits, as in like 16-bit, 12 bits, or sometimes 20 bits. They are huge. Like the pipe that comes out of the sensor is huge, and that's why raw files are so bonkers in the size. That's why like raw footage of few seconds could be in few gigabytes or even terabytes, because that bit depth is too wide. Now the processor that is in GoPro or processor that is in your phone takes that bit and maps it into a lower bit rate. Basically it takes 16-bit output, maps it to 8-bit. Now it has to do a clever, it cannot just do one-to-one. We used to do that, but when we realized it's just garbage, because human eye is very differently sensitive to different brightness levels. So you cannot do one-to-one, even though that would be a technically doable thing. It just does not look pleasing enough. So there has to be some clever mapping, and that mapping is very critical, because if you remember the old days, as in like 1 or 2 years ago, everybody was like, Canon is so amazing, video, Sony nobody likes it. It's like, why the heck that was? Because Sony's mapping technology, basically taking the data out of the sensor, mapping into a lower bit container, was not performing as they were expecting. Now they solved that problem with two ways, again improving that compact lookup table, and then they fixed it by just giving more bits. Because you may think a 10-bit to 8-bit is not that big of a thing. It is idiotically large difference, like mind-boggling. The amount of color goes from like 255 to 1024 per channel. So it's bonkers more amount of data you can store. That's why they were talking about like GoPro is like million of colors to billions of color. Yeah, that is true, mathematically speaking. So 10-bit color is really good if your lookup table was not good. Because if your lookup table was good, for example in Canon case, most people will not care. In case of like if you are taking the footage and you like the GoPro look and all the jazz, you will not care. You will only give a damn about 10-bit color if you are personally grading it. And if you, at that point in time, you may find it like, okay, it's good, not great, wow. There is a reason why people spend a lot of money on big sensors, but this is a good approach, but do not expect to be like, whoa. And not to mention, it will disable the moment you touch high-speed footage. It will not work. Now it has hyper view, which genuinely boiled my blood. It's like, dude, why done hyper? Like I had to spend time thinking about it. I had to do research. It's like, what is this hyper view? It's just more wide. It's like, dude, call wide and ultra wide. Done. Go home. Call wide or hyper wide. Done. It's like, why? Why this marketing? Like, who is in marketing in charge of naming this sort of thing? It's like confusing. It's just hyper wide, nothing more. It's just like, again, it does have some advantage, specifically inside car. It is truly beneficial. If you are doing this inside a vehicle, you'll like, shut up and take my money. So it is useful. If you are one of those guys who need that ultra wide, you will say shut up and take my money. But for most people, don't be like, whoa, what is this hyper view? Nah, it's just ultra wide. Built-in horizon lock, because the sensor is almost square, a 16 by 9 frame can just go YOLO, so they can do this. Again, it was not a first thing in GoPro, because again, many 360-degree camera can do this, and again, other action cameras also try to do it to the best ability. This square sensor does allow them to achieve really good results. Hyper smooth 5.0. Now at this point in time, hyper smooth is really good, as in like almost like people trust it, that kind of good. But they have realized that if you make it really smooth, really work your ass off to make it as smooth, it also feels dead. Meaning it's just like, oh, somebody has a camera on a gimbal. You don't want that feeling. A GoPro is supposed to be intimate, supposed to be personal. You're supposed to put it in your chest. So if you remove all the motions, it no longer carries that, oh, it was a holiday vibe kind of feeling. It feels very off, very dead. So Hyper Smooth 5 is like focusing on that aspect, where it's like, I'm gonna not try to remove every single motion. Basically, this is a tripod floating in the midair. They are trying to go away from that. So like, they're gonna give you that jogging motion. Of course, it will not shake too much, but it was like, okay, little bit of motion, they will let it through into your footage. That will give that life. Yeah, it's close to you. The camera is personal to you, up close, intimate, and all that jazz. So that's the target of Hyper Smooth 5. So do not expect it's like, oh, it's hyper rock solid. Again, 4 was really good. 3 was good. 4 was like damn good. 5 is like, again, if they can't really do much, so they are like adding life to it. Now it has hindsight 30-second pre-recording. Now it does require you to arm this puppy, but again, it may be desirable for people, but it does feel odd simply because it's a common feature used in dash cams. A very common feature in audio recording industry. If you arm your recorder and then you go and somebody starts playing before the sound recorder, press the sound recording guy, press the button, no problem. It has like 30-second pre-buffer, so it will save the buffer. Now that buffer is continuously dumping into RAM. Now if you press the button, it dumps into memory. If you don't, it just fades away. So that can be done in this. Again, I do not see the use, because most people use action cameras like record, now do the action. So I don't find it that useful, but it may come in handy. Now, there are some extras into this, because I have specified making hardware is easy. There are thousands of Chinese companies that make hardware that are like tangibly better than all other major companies. Heck, even Samsung has better hardware than Apple. But what differentiates them is the software. It's like the extra touch, the polish. So here they are introducing a lot of night modes, and if I were rich, I will just buy it for these things. I don't give a damn about anything else. If you give me this trail, shut up and take my money. If you're giving me light painting, again, I may not do it that much, but I do really want to do this. And star trails, like if you go into my Instagram, I have tried to do this. It's very difficult to do it on a DSLR, but it can be done. So for many people, it's like, shut up and take my money. Right there, shut up and take my money, because it's kind of fresh, kind of unique, and it does not require user intervention as other camera system will. Yes, you can do all these things on any camera, but they will require too much user intervention. Here it's like, hey, we understand what you want us to do. We are claiming this hyper technology, and like, GoPro is a technology company. We know how technology works. Use it. So that's amazing. It does have duration capture. Now again, these are little things that makes your life easier. For example, if you're going on a drive, you know for a fact that you're meeting your friend in like, let's say 25 minutes. You're like, hey, let's do record duration for 30 minutes. Now you're like, why don't you just let it record as long as possible? It will drain the battery. It will overheat. So you just like set it to the level that is required, and then you just like, hey, let's say you 25 minutes, 30 minutes recording, done. It's like, it's a very clever thing, and it's like, nice. So I'm happy about that. And it can also do schedule capture for time lapse. Again, it was already there. They are just polishing it. It can act as a good low cost high speed camera. Be mindful, there are other full frame cameras, full frame mirrorless camera that you can buy, but they are idiotically expensive, as in like multiple times more expensive than GoPro. So for many people, especially who have let's say entry level or amateur level hardwares, they may find this act as a good high speed camera, and it does have much better stabilization. Flat out stabilization is like, shut up and take my money. Shut up, like flat out. Now, here's the all things considered, like if you have just missed this announcement simply because the industry is dying, and not to mention DJI literally announced, and I do not know who announced it first, who leaked the date first. It's like they literally announced next to each other, and that's why majority of the videos are like comparison, and comparison does not have that kind of vibe to it. So there is not that much excitement behind it. Now, because reality is just a small update. Yeah, I really like the night modes that they have introduced. Was like, dude, it's just a firmware patch that you did. Bit bigger battery, but again, the battery is not like 10x better or something. It's like bit better. Everything is just year over year, minor improvements. And reality is that at this point in time, back in the days, there was a very clear difference between action cam that was like, I'm good at this. Mobile phone, yeah, I really can't do that. To now, there is like not that much separation. For example, the newly released iPhone 14 and GoPro, I provided the video down below, is like, it's damn close. And not to mention, in some scenarios, like, dude, iPhone just flat out looks better. Like, iPhone has better low light performance, like compared to this. You may be like, dude, you have one sensor, work your ass off to make sure that it looks good in low light. iPhone is like, nah bro, better photonic engines. So, and even other phones also, do not think like I'm again, iPhone is popular, so everybody does that comparison, but you may find similar kind of result with other phones also. So that's the reality of that. Flagship smartphones are really close to this, and even mid-range phones are not, whoa, this is garbage and GoPro is amazing. It's like, I can see. And not to mention, smartphones are becoming far more rugged and waterproof also. It's like people are actually taking their phone. Heck, my brother actually did that, his OnePlus. Again, it survived. It's like, yeah, many phones are becoming more and more resilient to water, even salt water. So at some, like, this was an old Samsung Galaxy phone which had like rainwater proofing, and now like there are phones that are like you can just dunk under, like Samsung Galaxy Fold, people have dunked underwater and it's like, yep, I'm good. Like, think of it this way, like that's right now what you will have in next year, what you will have year after that. And again, you're gonna replace your smartphone every 2 years or every 3 years, but you're not gonna replace your GoPros every year. So that fundamentally creates the scenario where the gap between the performance of a smartphone and GoPro is so little. It's like, is it really desirable to just buy another device that you may use? Because here's the deal, world is going through recession at this point in time, or it's coming, depending how you read the data. It's like either here or it's coming. Not good, let's just put it that way. How many people actually are like, I'm going skiing, man, I'm living the life, man? It's like, dude, teeny tiny percentage of humanity does that. So they already have it. So from a market point of view, not really that useful, and not really that large. So I'm really not sure why, like, again, I do understand from a company's point of view, but if they keep doing this minor upgrades, it's like, really bro, really not that, like, wow. It's just like, yeah, it's a small device that you can like forget about. But again, it's still so expensive that it's not even disposable anymore. The early GoPros, they had that clear advantage. They were made as cheap as possible. And again, that's why they had the approach of like, make the body and case separate. So case would be the expensive part, and if you damage it, you will replace the case, not the core. So going, integrating all of that does make it far more appealing, far more sex appeal, but does not have that, cost effectiveness. So at this point in time, it's no longer cost effective. You can't risk losing your mobile phone. But again, if this costs exactly same as your mobile phone, then what's the point? So the category is shrinking exponentially. So that's why there was no so much hype from anyone else. It's just like, yeah, minor upgrade, good for you. So this was my presentation on GoPro series cameras. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.